if you haven't had any major placements with an artist, does that make you a real producer? You see, you get a lot of industry producers on YouTube coming on here, like Dame Taylor, for example. They come on to YouTube and they don't come onto YouTube, from their own sort of merit, grow their channel like that. They grow their channels by targeting, especially Dame Taylor, targeting the already existing producer community, because they haven't had a hit placement record and he has, so therefore they're all corny, not like him. He's at such a level of greatness that no YouTube producer could ever compare. The general stance is that YouTube producers who haven't had any hits or any sort of major placements and haven't worked with artists in the industry, well, they're not producers. They're corny, they're fake, their music's trash, blah blah blah. But you look at people like Curtis King, for example. Now, I don't like either of these YouTubers. They're both two-faced and, in my opinion, corny. Two-faced, corny, and manipulative, and basically users of the followers, and just delete you as they please, get more people in. Just, you could have been following them for months and just, bye. You say one wrong thing and you're gone. But that's another video altogether. And of course, Dame Taylor and Curtis King acting like they're chums like this, when Dame Taylor has done nothing but basically call Curtis King out, call Curtis King a liar, and other stuff like that. It's just a bit childish. Maybe I'll load up some video in the future, or do a video in the future about this, because it's interesting. So, their behaviour with each other aside, but what's it make any difference if somebody was in the industry and they weren't on YouTube, or didn't have much of a presence on YouTube, but they had a hit record in the industry and the mainstream charts, right? And maybe they won't be singers and rappers as a producer, right? Or maybe they've done a bit of rapping themselves, okay, and had success in the mainstream or the industry. Maybe they had a hit record, went platinum, whatever. Now, okay, so let's just call Dame Taylor example of that sort of producer. Okay. So then we have Curtis King. So Curtis King built a following following his progression of making music and producing. Did a bit of beat battles and stuff like that, and does rapping, but producing as well, and also working with artists and so on like this, right? But no industry success. But what makes him any less of a producer, Curtis King, than Dame Taylor? See, in my eyes, why does it matter where the success comes from? So, so Dame Taylor comes to YouTube with nothing, no followers. So Dame Taylor comes to YouTube with no followers. Yeah, I'm an industry producer. So you've got someone like Dame Taylor. He's had a hit record, platinum. Comes to YouTube, no following. Gets some following, probably by paid advertising and stuff like that, or by doing what Dame Taylor was doing and still is doing, which is calling out popular production YouTubers that are already established, who haven't had industry success, like Curtis King, and that's how they grow their following, right? They basically troll these already established producers, okay? And then you have people like Curtis King, who made a following, probably paid advertising and stuff like that as well, but no industry success, but builds a YouTube channel, and from that YouTube channel makes a monetary value or monetary wealth, right? Same as a industry producer makes monetary wealth. Now, this could be enough to buy a mansion, or it could be enough to simply just pay for your, all your music and everything you do, right? But you know, live off the music. So where does it matter? If someone gets like, let's say somebody like Curtis King gets a subscriber base of 200,000 subscribers, yeah? And he's got a community, let's say, and he gets videos maybe of 500,000 views, yeah, or less. That's a level of success, isn't it? That's a level of people and a market to sell product to. So he was selling like sound packs and stuff like that, and selling consultations, services and courses, yeah? So it's a viable business plan, completely bypassing the industry, the official industry. However, still successful in music. And his music isn't, like Dame Taylor says, whack or corny, like he kept on saying, just because he wasn't an industry producer. And then you have Dame Taylor, no YouTube presence, yeah, no following, yeah, but a successful platinum record or hit record, right? Living off the music. Then comes to YouTube and then finds the fastest way to make himself known to the YouTube producer community is by calling out other producers, you know, established YouTube producers who are not in the industry. You know, the whole entire thing with this channel, oh, well, I'm from the industry and I know more than all these YouTube producers, all these corny YouTube producers. Curtis King's corny, yeah, all these smaller YouTubers are corny, trash, corny, trash. Okay, so Curtis King's music's trash and corny, is it? Because from what I heard, his music is just as good, or in some cases maybe even better than your music, Dame Taylor's music, right? So it's all sort of rubbish. And of course there are other channels, you know. I mean, you can have a industry producer come into YouTube to call out YouTube producers and grow off the back of their followings, or get themselves known within the producer community by, you know, making videos like, oh, Curtis King is exposed and Busyworks Beats exposed, and this is why I'm better because I'm an industry producer, look at me. And then you have people like that's Dame Taylor. And on Curtis King on the other end, you've got him sort of saying, oh, well, let's go against the mainstream, and look at me, I'm independent and I didn't need to go to the mainstream to be a successful musician, producer, look at me. Yeah, all the industry producers are whack and whatever, or I don't like it, I don't want to be part of it, blah blah blah. But of course you can have YouTubers and producers, industry or otherwise, who have no followings, no hit records, and they can come on and they can make a following by calling out both industry producers and non-industry producers, independent producers, like Leah Jude did. Yeah, so Leah Jude, I fell out with Leah Jude because you know, she was one of these channels that was calling out and basically making videos on Curtis King, making videos on Dame Taylor.
Are you saying the beats are like clones of each other? If you give me a country song, two country songs, I'm gonna think it's the same damn one. Hey, you're screwing me all up. We were here to attack him. That's why we came on.
We're here on the assault charges.
We said we were talking about it yesterday.
Making videos on all these different people and calling them out and saying their, you know, their courses that they sell and their products that they sell is basically using people, and they're basically like shills and stuff like this. Then she does a complete U-turn and starts licking Curtis King's backside and his other producers' backsides. Oh, I'm changing the direction of my channel now to be less controversial, blah blah blah, and you know, I think it's better to not do those sort of videos and stuff like this, you know, and take my channel in a different way. And when I questioned her about that, obviously I got blocked after all our conversations for hours and days and weeks.
I think I have the right guy. Are you the Hall of Sounds that always comments on the videos?
Yes, it is me. And hello.
I don't know how you ran into so much issues with the other channels. I do think it's because of, you know, you speak your mind, you're very honest. And I think like fragile egos, that's just how that is. But I really appreciate that you've always engaged and that you're talking to me now. Dame Taylor was up there with him. I don't really know too much about Dame because I think he started to grow relatively recently. But yeah, when it comes to just critiquing mainly online producers, online course selling producers, like that kind of thing, we could do some collaborations. Of course, I always want to collab with people, but no, I mean, it would be kind of cool if you went into the space, even if you took a more comical route.
She blocked me, but that's interesting for another video. But that's just an example, right? So she would be the example of somebody who's basically piggybacking off and forcing their way into the music productions YouTube space by names dropping and tagging and talking trash and talking rubbish about as many, you know, YouTube producers and other connected people as she can. Yeah. Well, as she could, and then grew her following to a certain amount, and then she started doing videos on pop media after I told her that, you know, during our conversations we're talking about how we're going to grow our channels and what's the best way to grow and who grows the fastest. And I said the fastest music YouTubers or production YouTubers, or fastest YouTubers to grow at all, are the ones who do videos on pop media or mainstream topics. The most successful YouTube channels are either mainstream media, like Piers Morgan News, or anything to do with music production, Dr. Dre, or any other industry producer, or pop artist music like The Weeknd, for example, with his billions of plays. So, as an unknown producer, or less known producer in the YouTube community, you could do videos on them, and then because you're simply doing videos on some popular topics in the mainstream, therefore you're going to get more views than you ever would, doing your own, your own thing, or trying to make a topic that no one, most people outside the producer space are not interested in either. So she started doing videos on Missy Elliott and talking about pop media, mainstream, doing documentary style things after our conversation about how the mainstream dominates YouTube, and all the YouTube channels, including producer channels, they only grow to the big levels by either being mainstream media or doing videos on mainstream media. So that's all great and all, take the channel in a different direction. However, she kept all of the old videos that's still bringing traction within the producer community, because she's still calling out Curtis King, even though she's licking his backside in a later video. She's calling out Curtis King and other producers in these earlier videos, and okay, she does a new video saying, oh, I don't want to do those videos anymore, and I don't believe that, I've changed my channel, blah blah blah. Yeah, great, but you still got all those videos up, and you're still profiting and still gaining subscribers and traction because of those videos that you had used on all those producers. Yeah, so she's an example of somebody who basically forces their way in, cutthroat style, by talking trash about as many people as possible. Same as Dame Taylor. However, she's completely unknown, nobody knows who she is whatsoever, and gains traction because she's talking about not only the people in the producer community, producers, music, YouTube producer community, but also the industry producers and anyone selling products and stuff. But a complete U-turn, and basically I call it sort of wishy-washy. So basically throw me under the bus, forget everything we said, take my advice, of course, use it, and then just throw me under the bus after one comment, after talking to me for weeks and months, whatever, long conversations. So it's just interesting the way the people move and tactics that they do. But growing a following. So it just takes us back to is a YouTube producer who's never had any mainstream success, but making money and success on YouTube, making a living out of their music. Are they just as valid as an industry producer?